Welcome again to ACAP Guilford. This is our monthly meeting. We meet right here at the Senior Resources of Guilford on the third Thursday of every month. We're glad you're here. We always have lunch at 11:30, and then we have a program at noon, from noon to 1. The only thing we ask is that if you would like to be here, and we would like you to be here, please RSVP. That way we can be prepared with enough food for everybody. Do you know what ACAP is? So many of you today have not been to an ACAP meeting before. Let me give you a little bit of background before we start the program. ACAP Community is an educational 501c3. That's a nonprofit organization that offers information, resources, support, and community for those of us who are caring for aging parents. And as you can tell from our name, our emphasis is on adult children who are caring for their aging parents. However, everybody's welcome. Whether you're caring for an in-law or a parent or another relative or a friend, or whether you're a professional who provides care for older adults. We have about 11 chapters that are scattered around the Eastern Seaboard and a little bit inland now. We are growing pretty rapidly right now. And as I said, you can come here one Thursday a month, but you can also, we record all of our programs, and you can go to ACAP Community website if you want to hear Jody again, or you want to see any of our previous programs. Our sponsor today is Kisco Senior Living. We are so thrilled with their support of our programs. You'll hear a little bit more about Kisco in just a minute, because it just happens that our speaker for today, who we are thrilled to have, seriously, you're in for a treat, is Jody Clayton, who works for Kisco. We're going to talk today about caring for your parents from a distance. But you know, caring for your parents from a distance may be an hour and a half away. It may be California. It may just be another residence outside of your home. Just you're not seeing the person all the time. And that raises a lot of questions about what you look for. How do you know if you see something, whether it's, well, you'll hear that from Jody. So let me tell you a little bit about Jody before we move on. Jody Clayton is a passionate advocate for the senior living industry. He's dedicated to transforming its narrative and illuminating the often overlooked stories of love and compassion that define this sector. With a diverse background encompassing senior living operations, public relations, marketing, education, human relations, and advocacy, that's our boy, that's our man. Jody excels at forging meaningful connections within the senior living community and the broader society. He is driven by a personal commitment to creating compassionate environments. Jody is particularly focused on developing aging-in-place solutions that promote independence and dignity for seniors. In addition to his extensive experience in the senior living field, Jody holds a master's degree in counseling and has been a licensed professional since May 2004. His expertise lies in providing guidance and support during life's transitions, helping clients navigate challenges and discover meaning in their experiences. Through his work, Jody Clayton continues to champion the values of empathy and respect within the senior living industry, striving to create a brighter future for seniors and their families. There's more about Jody, but I want you to meet him now. Thank you for being here, Jody.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
So I do appreciate, hello everyone, I'm Jody Clayton. If that wasn't obvious. I do agree with Cheryl. This presentation is very interactive. I do not claim to be an expert. I know enough to be dangerous is what I always tell everybody. I agree with Cheryl on that point. So a couple of fun facts. So that was a great bio. I love that thing. I'm always embarrassed when I hear it. It just sounds way formal. That's not me. Couple of fun facts. I'm the world's biggest Olivia Newton-John fan. I miss her to this day. For anybody in the room who's listened to the comedian Nate Bargatze, he does clean comedy, but he talks about as we age, Men especially have about a 50% chance of having your zipper down while you're doing something. So, and it is absolutely true. I have double checked, so I think you're safe. Caregiving, right? So Cheryl reached out and asked me to do this presentation, and for a moment I was like, well, I'm senior living. We're kind of on the end where you decide what's happening. But then I tapped into my mother. So Linda, an amazing advocate, I learned the heart that I have came from Linda Clayton. She had a heart attack at 55, survived it barely, thank goodness, and she just died. I had moved to California, moved back, and unfortunately she passed away in 2001. But between that, talk about caregiving from a distance. I was in California. I fortunately had siblings who were willing to chip in, but it taught me a huge lesson about life and what I can expect of others as I age. So that's why, the challenges of caregiving from a distance, that's the title. But I prefer caregiver for loved one. I think everyone in this room, you are just as much as an expert as I am, would agree that those roles are very different. So, let's get into it. Caregiving, the roadmap. So let's talk about today. I thought it would be helpful to kind of frame this conversation as caregiving from a distance, from afar, right? And geographically, that sometimes can be across town. Certainly across country, across international lines. We're going to focus on safety, routines, communication, and your well-being, which is so important. I don't think I'm going to give you anything earth-shaking here, but hopefully it will remind you some things to think about. So, the reality and success factors. The challenges, let's start there. What's hard? Well, you have limited visibility. Eyes on is important, right? That's any caregiving you get. Travel, it can be, like I said, cross town, cross time zones, whatever that looks like, can be a challenge. And coordination. Your job now, I'm assuming most of you in this room may work, in addition to your paid job, you're now care coordinating for someone. Your role, again, coordinator, advocate, connector. And I want to make the caveat that a connector is not a daily helper. They're two very different things, right? Keys, you need a trusted network, you want clear routines, and solid documentation. We'll get into all this. I'm also going to frame this to the group and to the camera and those at home. How are you doing? As let's think about this as you're a new caregiver. This is a new world to you, right? So again, many of you may know a lot of this stuff, but I'm framing this as you are stepping into this world, which is very complex. The first 90 days. So whether it be a hospital event, you name it, you now are a caregiver, and you realize this. You want to have an established PCP, primary care physician. You want a preferred hospital or emergency room, whatever that looks like. And this is very important, current meds. So quick side note. My mom has an incident, has to go to the hospital emergency room. And of course, they don't have a list on file, so they look at my sister and I'm like, I'm in California. So they said, okay, you two traipse home, find her medications and let us know what she's taking, make a list out real quick. Mom said there's this little red box under the bed. Y'all, that little red box was a tub.
Little red box.
Little red box. There's a side note here about deprescribing. I'm not going to talk about that today, but if you haven't gone through deprescribing, I would encourage it for everybody, including us. But anyway, so having a current med list is essential. And somewhere that's handy. You want to gather up and keep HIPAA releases, healthcare proxies, a durable POA. I hope you have one. Advanced directives. I think we've all talked about this ad nauseum. Insurance cards, and med lists and allergy lists. Again, allergy list is just as important. Shared hubs. So what to do with all this information? Again, you can't do it alone. So identify a space where you can keep this documentation. I'm of a certain generation. I have thoughts about the cloud. But in some cases, I think the cloud is helpful. Obviously, do whatever measures you need to keep it safe, and do what's comfortable for you, but you never know when you'll get the call, and the cloud makes it easy. Always have handy ink contacts and other stuff you may need. You want to establish a baseline, and by this, I'm meaning the baseline now, post-acute event. So you want to know the ADLs and the IADLs. Cheryl.
Would you say what that means?
Yes, thank you, Cheryl. ADLs are activities of daily living. Those are the things that we do to keep ourselves healthy enough, right? Like bathing, dressing, cooking, blah, blah, blah. IADLs is, I don't know if it's relatively new, but it's a new word to me. Essentially, it is, so we know we have these activities of daily living. What are the things that are absolutely important and essential to do those? And you don't think about someone, one of them is driving, transportation. It's great you have to cook for yourself, you may have that ability. But if you don't have the ability to get the food, we got a problem. So look that up, make note of that, those are great. ADLs, IDLs. Fall risk, so working senior living, life is about a fall risk. It's something, mobility, again, mom, she could barely walk towards the end, and it was painful watching her try to move about. So fall risk, we want to assess, how bad is it, right? Cognition, I think that goes without saying. Vision, hearing, mood, and driving. Building a care circle. So, like I said, caregiver or loved one. You can't do it on your own. I was very fortunate my sister lived a couple of miles away from mom. So whenever there was something, and they were tied at the hip, apparently mothers and daughters have a thing. Whatever, I'm the favorite son, Gary. But building this circle is imperative. So think about neighbors. Think about friends who may be willing to help. Faith community, or whatever other communities maybe your parent was in a chess club, whatever that looks like. Think about those things. And if they live, I think building manager I included because sometimes we live in apartment complexes that may have, and I'm talking more in a distance, but if you're in New York, the supervisors, I don't know what that looks like. So professionals. Again, we talked about PCP, your pharmacist. I highly recommend, and this is no offense to the box stores, but I highly recommend a local pharmacy. Here in Greensboro, we got Gate City, oh gosh, I'm gonna get the one off the top of my head.
Brown Gardner.
Brown Gardner, I think.
Friendly Pharmacy in Mondale.
Thank you. But try to identify those, and the reason is those pharmacists may have a little more time to spend with you. Like I said, deprescribing. It's a pharmacist who can make recommendations. The doctor has to sign off on those, but a pharmacist can help you navigate through some of that. The smaller ones are usually willing to do it. Your box stores, they don't have the time.
Brown Gardner will deliver prescriptions.
Boom. We'll get there. But yes, local pharmacy if you can. Home care agencies. I would, if I were you, whether it's needed now or not, is think about an assessment from a home care agency. Or someone who is licensed. Make sure they're licensed and insured, trust me. Uninsured, they slip on the rug, fall in your house, guess who's responsible? So, home care, so just have them do an assessment even if it's not needed, so you have them on call. Most would be willing to do that for the promise of future business. Geriatric care managers. This is, as we're aging, this is becoming a new buzzword. We have a lot of great organizations locally. I'm thinking of Elder Wiser, I'm thinking of Choice Care Navigators here in Greensboro, the Triad. But think about where you are. And I put the Aging Life Care Association up there for anybody who may be out of the area as a good resource. We'll also get into that a little deeper. Services. Again, finding services can be a challenge. Your area agency on aging, all of us have those. It's a governmental program, at least for now. Gerontologists and care managers. So we'll get care navigators. We'll get there in a second. I put on here gerontologists. So I'll make a side note about UNC Greensboro. I'm a Spartan all the time. Don't be afraid, wherever you are, UNCG has a gerontology program. And love to talk about gerontology, as they should. You can go to your local university or school if they have a gerontology program and ask for resources. They will help. I promise you they will help. They love to talk about themselves. Just like I do. So think about, I don't think we often think of universities. Do. Add those in the conversations. Define roles and contact preferences. Simple check-in plans, right? Simple check-in plan. We need something to remind us how, when, where, all that stuff. Medical coordination, that works. I can't say this enough. Be it a parent, be it a child, be it you. Ask questions. Always. I'm not great about this. And Dr. Virginia Miller is my PCP at Eagle Physicians. I'm already stripped down to my berries by the time she gets in there. But even as comfortable as I am in the medical world, I do not ask that question. By the time you're seen by the doctor, you're ready to go. I have things to do. Just want to get this over. But you have to ask questions. It's essential. One-page med list, name, dose, purpose, prescriber, side effects, when to start, when to stop. These are all essentials that you need for a one-page list. You want to sync your care. Your PCP and your specialists, whatever that specialty, if it's heart attack, Mom's was the heart doctor, who we got to know real well. Align refills. I think we talked about, here's where we're going with Brown Gardner. Align your refills. If they can be delivered, have them delivered. Think about blister packs. When you've got mobility issues or concerns, you can get those are easy to do. And sometimes safer because they're the right dose, right? You're not likely to pop out 2 of those at a time. You want to monitor as needed. So certainly, and here's the lovely thing, again, a man of a certain age, and all them eyes are watching. But we have all these apps now. So you can live in California and log in and see how Linda's doing. We want vitals, we want weight, glucose. Certainly use your telehealth services that are out there. There's all these things that are available. And prep visits. So here again is where we're back to a caregiver or loved one. So let's say, again, Jody, California, flying home to see Linda in North Carolina. Unfortunately, I'm flying in as a caregiver. I have a limited amount of time with her, and we have business to do. Here's a few things you want, and maybe you'll have enough time to be a loved one for a little while if you do this. So prep your visits. Written questions. Good stuff. You want to batch their appointments as much as you can to the length of time you're there, especially those essential ones where you hear the doctor telling you all these things. Have questions. And just think in general about what are the things I need to see. What are the eyes on that what eyes do I need to have on? Because when we get home, we're happy to see Mama. Mama's boy. It's happy to see Mama. Again, a man of a certain age. Here we go again. So, smart devices. She is. She's listening right now. I promise she is. Mm-hmm. Smart devices and safety tech. So for the good and bad of it, think about all the things in a home. So there are professionals out there who will help you with this, but smart devices are designed to make our lives easier, right? Alexa, turn on blank. Alexa, turn off blank. Lighting. And even working in senior living, lights are essential. Bright lights are essential. It may not be the most comfortable, but it's up all preventative measure. Loose rugs, y'all. Linda loved a rug. She loved a rug. Girl, you're gonna trip, and you're gonna fall, and you're gonna break your hip. Let's take some of those out. Grab bars. A lot of folks don't think about grab bars in the shower. Where do you slip the most? Where is the potential to slip the most? Shower chairs and raised toilets. So I think y'all know what those mean, but a raised toilet really does help. At 50, it's making a difference. So get a raised toilet. Access. So an event does happen. However you're notified, however your circle is notified, events happen. EMS is called, they show up at the house. Here's a couple things that might not know. How are they gonna get in if your loved one's on the floor in the bathroom? Well, a good simple an easy remedy for that is a lockbox on the house. And as I understand it, I don't know all jurisdictions, but you can call EMS and they will take your information to have the lockbox code at Cheryl's house in 1, 2, 3, 4. The other thing of that, the other piece of that, I don't think we often think of are house numbers. Think about your own. How many times have you tried to find Sally's house? You going to visit Sally? She gave you her house number, what street, you found the street. None of those homes have visible house numbers. You're driving around like what? The same thing, EMS, they rely on technology, but it's the same situation. Make sure the house numbers are visible. It may be tacky, but make them as big as you can. Cheryl, keep me on top.
Yeah.
Other things, and we can again use smart tech to help with some of this stuff, but stove shutoffs. So as a loved one may progress in a cognitive issue, you're going to want to have a stove shut off somewhere. Especially when caregivers are coming in, you can turn it on and off as needed. Maybe the parent doesn't need to have that anymore, right? The access to that. Smoke, alarms, etc., carbon monoxide, water leak, I think is one we don't necessarily think of. So at my house, I didn't know I had this, but if there's a water leak under the house, it talks to my phone saying, hey, I've sensed a water leak. That may not do anything for a parent who has mobility issues, but if you're in California and Linda's house is leaking, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, we need a plumber. We need a plumber out now. Which also I didn't add to the list before, list of professionals. You want all your house professionals on call. Plumbers, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know who, electricians, you name it. Tech. So, fall detection has really come a long way from the help, I've fallen and I can't get up. That's still an option. But there are now devices that can be placed on the wall that kind of scan the room all the time, and it knows your pattern. So if you haven't been up in a certain amount of time, it'll alert to say, hey, something may be happening. You may want to call somebody. Like, it'll alert you to call home to see if everything's okay. Smart. So I think those devices are smart. Pill dispensers, motion sensors, cameras. Let me give you my asterisk on the camera. I have a lot of thoughts about Big Brother already. I'm not sure how I love a camera in my room. Watching every bathroom break I take. Cameras, and in most senior living communities, they are not allowed. Informed consent. We are in this age where we want consent before we move. So be sure if this is a route you want to go, and sometimes it's necessary, I get it, I'm not knocking it, but make sure if if there's some questions that come along, if there's cognitive issues, but informed consent is important. Daily life supports, nothing earth-shaking here. You want your grocery pharmacy deliveries set up, as we talked about. Meals on Wheels, we're sitting in the home of it here in Guilford County. Funding's always going to be an issue, and it's getting tighter. So batch cooking, I love this one. So when you're at home during that week, now you can be the personal chef. Make as much food as you can, freeze it. If your parents are still adapted to the microwave, it's easy. Just pull it out, put it in the microwave, batch cooking. Transportation, getting someone around is tough. Let's say her mama's friend Martha can't help, at least not always. So you want to think about paratransits, volunteers. You want to think about go-go grandparent. I think that's still around. Even Uber now has, as I understand it, gotten in the game. So I believe there's an Uber Health. They're still working on it, but they're around. And that could be, I'm sure that Lyft and all them help them too. Home help. So here's where we come into the house chores. We still have the laundry to do. The grass still needs to get mowed, all that other good stuff. I've already talked about in-home care. I'm not gonna go back over it. Do have someone come and assess. Social. Here's the piece where, when I'm asked, what do you love about senior living? There are many things I love about senior living. Marion, I know you'll agree. The thing and the piece in my mind that really glues everything together is socialization. But socialization doesn't necessarily mean, oh, everybody needs to come to the program to be happy. That's one part of it. Not everybody's that social. It could be small card games. It could be just getting someone to a dining room to have a meal with other people. It has a grand impact on health. It's tough at home. That changes it. But there are options. One, adult day programs. There are a lot of programs out there, various capacities, adult day. Some of them even have buses they'll take back for. Senior centers. You know, good Lord, I call bingo at Smith, which is our local senior center, and let me tell you, you gotta be loud. You gotta be loud. They get real tipsy. But senior centers, right? It's a good option. We go back to faith communities. Maybe your churches or houses of worship may have something for you. This is a new one. Virtual meetups. And again, I think we think of these apps as younger. I'm even calling younger than me. But they're meetups for all age groups, all sundries, all types. I would encourage some form of monitoring, especially for someone who's new to navigating it, but that's an option. We're getting there, y'all. We're almost there. Legal and financial considerations and foundations, healthcare proxies, we talked about durable POAs, HIPAA release, POST, physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. Y'all know what POST is? So, POST is, so do you know what DNR is? Do not resuscitate. I think most folks know that. A do not resuscitate, if I have a heart attack and die, do not resuscitate me. Very specific, that's if you die on site. A POST is physician's orders for a much broader piece. I do not want clinical help if ... It's a very specific list. So I say it's a much tighter DNR. So think about those. Money, you want to get everything auto pay as much as you can. Consolidate accounts, make fraud alerts, and honey, my credit is frozen, y'all can't touch it. I would encourage everyone to do the same, especially if we're parenting. Benefits, we all know what they are. Medicare, Medicaid, VA, SNAP. Property tax relief is something I just learned about recently. Parents struggling to pay bills, property tax relief can help. And there's a benefits site, benefitscheckout.org if you don't know what options are out there. Communications, routines, and red flags. So cadence. In senior living, they would tell all of us that our day is directed by our cadence. If you get your cadence right, you will be successful as an executive director, business development director, whoever you are. Same thing happens with us in our personal lives. If we set a cadence, we can be successful. That's especially important if you're caring for someone, right? So for your the person we're caring for, you want brief check-ins. We don't have all day long, but you also want to at least have one longer check-in, where again, we're doing business. I'm not saying there can't be social pieces to it, but at least one longer check-in where we're doing business. Structure, we want to make sure we're sleeping. We want to make sure that we're having our meals or meds. Think about the person's mood, pain. Are we having trouble moving? What's happening? So red flags, here's the one, I talk about the cliche dent in the Mercedes. It's not a cliche, number one. Trust me, I work in senior living. Ooh, you take your car into your own hands when you park that parking lot. But we may not oftentimes see the falls or the near falls, right? They weren't hurt, maybe. How many times have they fallen? You won't know until they are hurt. Med confusion. This is a big one. All these pills look exactly the same. We didn't order blister packs. So maybe we take the wrong medication at the wrong time with the wrong dose, and all of a sudden we're in a hospital. We could be dead. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. When you go home that long week extended caregiving visit, you notice over in the corner, there's a pile of bills or a stack of mail sitting there. Go through it. If you see a lot of bills, red flag. Weight change, I think that's pretty obvious. If something is fluctuating either way, we have some concerns. I would also think about confusion. Confusion is disguised a lot of times. But key in on small things like repeated conversations. We all repeat ourselves. God knows you're talking to the king of it. But you know when there's a difference between a repeat and what's happening? That type of reaction. Another one that is interesting is incontinence. I don't know that any of us know our bathroom habits, but if you notice mom or dad's not going to the bathroom at all, and they were pretty regular before, it might be a sign. And again, that dent on that Mercedes. You know, you see it, you're like, dang, what happened? Make visits count, crisis ready. Again, I'm not going to beat these into the ground, but list priorities, pre-book appointments, restock supplies, right? While we're at home. So while you're there, let's do a safety walkthrough, review medical bills, and meet with essential people like neighbors and providers that are helping out. After, so your leave, you want an updated plan. We'll talk about a plan in a second in the binder. Contacts, next steps, and leave a visible list. For a fridge sheet is, I think, what I've always called it. The bare minimum, emergency contacts, essential meds, blah, blah, blah. That not only helps the person who lives there, your loved one, but let's say EMS comes in. A lot of times they do check that fridge. That list is essential. Crisis ready. So you want emergency sheets, like I said. You want a hospital go-go bag. Something does happen. Someone has to be taken to the hospital. Have a bag ready for them. Stuff that you know they will need. Including some paperwork, copies of paperwork they may need. Discharge plan. So we live in the modern managed care society. The hospital's going to try to ship you out as quick as they can. What the piece I think most people and a lot of older adults are discharged without a plan. Their hip is well enough. Shoot. I would work with a professional to put together a discharge plan. First day, first hour, first day, first week, first month, whatever that looks like, so you have some idea of what should be happening and when. And again, you want to reconcile those medications. It may change any follow-ups and any additional equipment you may need. Family collaboration and caregiver well-being. How am I doing? On time?
Fine.
Okay. So, we didn't do this when Mom was alive, and I wish we had. Family huddles. They're important. Because somewhere in this, it talks about roles. Different roles we occupy when we're caregivers. If you have siblings, or aunts, uncles, whomever, roles are important. My brother, love him to death, was not the heart-forward one. My sister is. But my brother was willing to help chip in financially, things like that. My sister, more the caregiver. You see where I'm going with this. Let's know what our strengths are and play on those. Budgets, task lists. Again, I know this is all overwhelming and seems like a lot, but if you establish it early, it's worked early on, a task list doesn't change that much. Taking mom or dad to the doctor. Sister lives close, can she go back into the house? That type stuff. It's the simple stuff. Document agreements. Okay. Some families or loved ones may need an agreement. I'll do this if you do this. Sign here. That's a little more formal than I'm willing to go in, but some people it works. Maybe you have that sibling with this contract. They'll help. Boundaries, and this is with both your caregiving role and your role in the family, whatever that looks like, you want to set clear boundaries. Don't drive yourself nuts. It's easy to do. I see from the senior living angle, oftentimes when families have gotten to us, they're in crisis mode. And brother's not talking to the sister. The sister hates everything the brother's doing, including senior living. So I tell people, Cheryl referenced my counseling background. I've never officially been a counselor. My practicum was in Mecklenburg County Jail. Oh, no, we're done. That wasn't my path. But I tell everyone, I use that degree in senior living sales more often than I think if I had a shingle in front of an office. Lord, the things we will fight about. And I'm saying we, I'm part of that equation too, I'm sure. Again, batch tasks. Find out who's doing what and batch them, that type thing, make it as easy as possible. That includes outside caregivers, not just family. And avoid scope creep. Y'all help me understand what that means. What is scope creep?
Kind of like when you're assigned to do this, but it slowly grows.
Girl.
This, and this.
Yes, yes. And I'm the king of scope creep. Well, it's going to take me 5 minutes. What I didn't anticipate are all these ancillary things that need to happen. And all of a sudden, this task is this task. And then I'm overwhelmed. And then my hair's on fire. And then Jody's mean. So, try to avoid scope creep, say that 3 times in a row, as much as you can. Try to make those. I have a colleague who says you eat an elephant. The analogy is crazy, but you eat an elephant 1 bite at a time. It's the truism. Don't eat elephants, they're lovely creatures. Respite support. We all need a vacation. And by vacation, I'm not saying you have 2 days off, you put your phone on silent, you read a book. That may be respite for some people, but you need some genuine time to get away and breathe all of that out. Whatever that looks like, it might be reading a book. I'm not that guy. So during that time, rotating siblings, you may have to assign your responsibilities to your sibling. But also think of short-term options. Like I said, you already have that assessment on file with caregivers, with the caregiving agency. Let's call them up and say, can you do the short-term? Adult day programs, same situation, just as during the day. Caregiver groups, and think about the benefits you may have that allow you some time. Because as we know, caregiving, you're taking vacation all the time, or sick leave to go take care of mom or dad. Is FMLA an option? That type of stuff. So you know what your benefits are too. And we're close to the end, y'all. Whew. When needs increase and resources. So we all know that as we age, we're just going to keep aging. I mean, that's a truism. We're going to continue to get older. So we also know that usually that brings along more issues. So scale supports. Do we look at more home care? Do we need supplemental home care? Adult day health, all that other good stuff. What about meals? Maybe mom or dad was adept at, they can pour the Cheerios in the morning, but they can't cook at night. Now all of it's gone. What are your tipping points? By that I mean, how many times has mom fallen? Does that Mercedes now have 3 dents? It's time to take that license. And y'all senior living. Ooh, that is the last step. People, especially men, you trying to take that license? Ooh. But I get it. It is a sense of independence, and that's being taken away. But how many dents are in a Mercedes? Med failures and caregiver exhaustion. So these are all things you want to think about, right? And keep in your mind. Some alternatives to all this stuff that I've told you. Where you're looking at it. Ding! I want to phrase this correctly because I see families come in, as I said, in crisis. Mom or dad can no longer live at home safely. They just know it. So it's time, they think it's time to look into senior living. Everybody comes in at the assisted living level. Every family comes in at the assisted living. So the caregiving expert in the room says, the senior living expert in the room says yes, absolutely. There may be other options like independent living with services added on that will work. But the magic of senior living. So senior living is this weird mesh of hospitality, of caregiving, keeping folks safe, and the magic kingdom, Mickey Mouse. But once you've progressed on your life scale so far, you start missing the Mickey Mouse piece of it. And I know that sounds cheesy, but we all like fun. We all like board games. We all like, you go down the list of things that keep us happy. A glass of wine with friends. whatever that looks like. And if you wait too long, you unfortunately have missed the magic part of it. Because senior living, you know, the analogy is the landlocked cruise ship. It's not a lot. Those people make me tired. The life enrichment people in our community. So think about that. I've listed some resources down here for everyone to look at. These, again, I'm gearing towards people who do not live here in Guilford County. I'll leave some cards with you. I'm Cheryl, knows it. Everybody in the room, all the professionals in the room know a ton of people who can help. So, and I like to say to everyone, if you come to me, I'm not just gonna look at you like, I'll move into an apartment. I like to be a resource. I get more value out of that. That speaks to my heartstrings. So think about that stuff. And then your next steps, you know, we want to build that binder. So you have the short list on the fridge, right? Short list, all that essential stuff. Build a binder of all these other things I'm talking about. I would argue that you may need two. One to keep with you if you are at a great distance, and certainly one to keep wherever your loved one is. Check-in routines, safety walkthroughs, and I think this is interesting. I argue it's more, but 2 allies locally to where your loved one is. I think that's smart. I would argue you need more than that. So, with that, I will open up to questions. Y'all don't ask me anything, I don't think I did super great. Cheryl.
Jody, this is a tough question, I think, but I think everybody struggles with it. The idea of when you know to make a move for your loved one.
Right.
And I heard you use the word crisis a lot. In my experience, it always happens during crisis.
Yes.
But can you give us a little more?
A little more meat on that. So, yes, I again, not an expert in the room. I welcome y'all's input. Haven't heard from y'all. Crisis point. Like I said, I'm speaking from experience at Abbotswood and Irving Park and Heritage Greens. Those are our two communities here in Greensboro. We see families come at a crisis point. Usually, mom or dad or loved one has been in the hospital. The hospital's putting them out. Mom and dad can't go home. I would say, to Cheryl's point, put a little meat on that bone. As we were going through this presentation, there are a lot of waypoints throughout. If resources and monetary resources are available, and you see the 3 Deans in the Mercedes, it's that time. I would encourage, and again, I'm speaking from a senior living angle. This could be home care. This could be care navigation. Any of these. I would recommend along the way, go ahead and tour some of your local senior living communities close to your loved one, or close to you, if you want to move a parent or a loved one out that way. Tour a few. I would encourage you to go by yourself to get a clean impression. Because I can tell you what mom or dad's going to say. Wait, you're trying to put me in a home. I work in senior living, and my mother would look at me and be like, you're not going to put me in that home. Lady, you miss what we do. So I would say those waypoints. I would encourage you throughout these bullet points that I give you, and Cheryl, I'll give you the PowerPoint to give out to everybody. These waypoints, I would go ahead, as soon as you see things that are concerning, go ahead and look into a senior living option. Talk to your home care agencies. Definitely find, if you're living at a distance, a care navigator. They're all over the place. Talk to a gerontologist. These are all things I think are pivotal. What else?
This isn't a question, it's more of a comment as you talk about,
Please.
Looking at the community and the support of the community. I think one of the things that's most challenging is that when I look at my parents, their community is aging as well.
Yeah.
So the people that I would typically rely on are encountering some of the same issues that they are. And so it makes it a little more difficult in having like close friends or family serve in that role and looking at other agencies or resources to assist.
So I'm going to get real deep into the weeds with this. That is a sad reality of life. Is a lot our networks are aging with us. Heck, by the time parents are, and I'm putting over in quotes, so are children. Does that responsibility get passed down to grandchildren and so forth? But even then, at a certain age, I have seen so many folks come into our communities with no one. Everyone has passed on. That is so hard for me to even wrap my head around. But it's a truism. So I would also add to that list, think about a guardian. I don't know when the right time to think about a guardian is. I'm referencing Guidance Carolina in our local area, but there are guardianships all over the place. And people, I've heard such negative press lately about guardians, and we see the abuse. I referenced this in my bio. The news loves to talk about all the abuse in senior living, and these financial guardians just doing terrible work. That's not true. Dig deeper. There are nefarious organizations out there, but for the 98% of these organizations, there are good ones out there. But that's where I'm going, where my mind went, Trina, is yes, as we age, so are our networks, including us. I mean, it's tough. It is. Mary.
I'm married, and I'm new, unlike Jody, who's been doing this forever. I just started working for Harmony at Greensboro about 5 months ago, and I took this job on purpose because I helped my sister and my brother get my parents into the community 14 years ago. So I really wanted to help other families because I watched what happened, what mistakes we made. Gosh, I wish they'd gone sooner. And here's my big general comments about that. And I've also seen this time after time, just in the last 5 weeks I've been there. When you are caring for your parent, or even a sister, brother, uncle, mainly a direct family member, and they're aging and they have any sort of dementia or even not, the friction between the caregiver and the family member can sometimes be so disheartening, hurtful, just hurts your feelings, like I'm doing everything I can help you and you're yelling at me. And then they enter in with a caregiver that is not part of their family. They're like, oh, I'm so nice and sweet. And it's not because you're not wonderful and doing a great job. There's just a lot of family history and dynamic that they don't have with a stranger. And I really try to share that with people all the time. I have millions of examples I could tell you. I've just seen in 5 weeks. And the other one is, if you have the resources, it's so much better to get mom and dad to move into somewhere together before one of them passes, and then they have to leave their house alone or be in their house alone for a while after they pass. Is the grief and the being alone is so awful. That happened with my parents. They moved together, and my dad passed away in 4 years. My mother was already out of the house, thank goodness, and she already had friends. She had a community around her already, so she wasn't facing moving somewhere alone without her husband and all of that.
That's a heavy weight.
Yeah, it's a heavy weight. So that I see that a lot. I say don't wait until there's a crisis, because then you don't have choices. You're doing something out of a crisis decision, and that's never a happy thing.
Correct. I see, Sheriff. And may I dovetail?
Yeah.
I think one other piece of this, as we're telling mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whomever, but moving into this community is going to be great for you. You're going to love the bingo. That's wonderful. And I would agree. We do a lot more than bingo. But what we're not honoring, a bit to Marion's point, is your aunt, uncle, mother, whatever, has lived in this house for 70 years, been married for 70 years, lived in the house for 50. I'm trying to get my order right. These aren't just, this isn't just a root, this is an identity. And I still don't think we, and I'm talking about the greater we, as an industry, do enough to say, I know this is going to be hard. We don't acknowledge that. And that does, and so you're going to have a loved one who's going to walk in. Of course they're not going to like the caregiver. Of course they're not going to like you. They're going to hate everybody. So it's a challenge, right? It's complex. Jody, you have something?
Yeah, and sort of jumping off from that in a little bit different way, I imagine you see people who overshoot what's needed.
Oh,
So,
all the time.
you know, in this room are a bunch of people right here today who are caring for folks who are in their 80s.
Yes.
And people in their 80s can be very, very different people, but we might think, so could you speak a little bit of that?
Yeah.
Making a good assessment.
Well, and like I said, specifically, and Mary, I'm sure you see this too, specifically in my world, mom or dad need assisted living. I know it. Well, tell me more. And we do overshoot, and name any area, right, that we've been talking about today. I can speak expertly on senior living. Mom and dad need assisted living. Okay, so we'll sit down. Our company does something called discovery, and we just sit down and get to know somebody. And what it turns out is a lot of these things have been happening. Dents in cars, maybe mom or dad fall once or twice. That's not assisted living. Assisted living, a great option. I want to be 100% clear. Assisted living is needed and a wonderful option. But oftentimes, families are taught that when mom or dad falls, these are happening, you need assisted living. No, there are independent living options. Senior living understands the industry. There's no true independent living anymore. All senior living is some form of assisted, I'm putting that quotes, care. Which is why I reference back and name the area. You can pick out any of these areas I'm talking about. That's why I encourage you to do the steadfast work up front. It may not, senior living may be this nebulous thing right now that you don't want to even think about. But think about it. Go to it. If you tell them on tour, I'm looking 10 years down the road, we listen to you. But it's a good idea. Anything else? Great point. Mary, please.
I have one more comment, just because I learned this with my own parents, and we see it all the time. When a parent or a loved one is confused and disoriented, think a UTI.
Yeah, 100%.
I recognize the fact that UTIs can cause older people to be completely off their game and confused. It's so often somebody's thinking their mom has Alzheimer's or dementia,
Yes.
and really it's a UTI that can be treated. I mean, I watched my mother just like hallucinate literally, and I was like, what is going on?
Mary, that is so important, and thank you for bringing that up, because especially if something happens so quick. I mean, usually with something like dementia, Alzheimer's, you start to see it progressing over time. But if something goes whack within a short time frame, that's the first place I go is, let me check for UTI. Those things are nasty, y'all. They're gross. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And to ACAP, Cheryl, Shelby, Mom, thank y'all for having me. Woo!
Oh, seriously, so, okay, everybody drink your water. That's a UTI right
Yes.
I could listen to Jody forever. I learned so much. And I'm in the industry, as we call it. So to that point, remember that this has been recorded and you can listen again or watch again. And Jody has offered to send his PowerPoint, which I will send on to you if you want it. There's just a lot of things to think about in order to be a comfortable and confident, a comfortable caregiver. Thank you, Jody, so much. And also, thank you so much for representing Kisco today, who is our wonderful sponsor, to providing our lunch and our program.
Y'all come out and have a meal with us. We love to host you.
Yeah. Go there, Kisco Senior Living. And we'll tell you about some other places another time. Okay, so my thanks. And I want to remind you that next month, Thursday, September 18th, 11:30 for lunch, 12 o'clock for a program. You know, we're coming up to open enrollment for Medicare. We're starting to think about insurance. And so this is a very timely topic. We will be talking about what SHIP offers, Medicaid programs. I believe Health Team Advantage is providing that program. So we're talking about making insurance decisions during open enrollment. Please remember to RSVP so that we know you'll be here. Bring your friends, tell your friends, because this is an important topic. And that's it. I'll see you next week, next month.